Hey guys, Tyler here. I would like to go through Opus Magnum's tutorial as a bonus video here, just to help out people that are struggling and confused by this game. It's a wonderful game, as long as you're able to get some good practice in. So here, this level is showing that the goal of each puzzle is to get the reagents picked up and transported to the products. The product is not always the same as the reagent, but in this exercise it is. The first thing it wants me to do is place an arm, setting the rotation and length so the gripper is over the reagent, and then add instructions to this instruction tray to make it pick up the reagent and move it to the product output. Now the game gives us two examples in arm number 1 and arm number 2 to show us how the instruction tray works. We can start by following arm 1 step by step. So the instruction tray has rows. Each row's number goes to the number on the arm. So we'll look at arm number 1. The first thing arm 1 does is this filled in circle, which grabs whatever it's underneath. So it grabs. Then we're about to execute the second step, which is a clockwise turn. And you can see the arm turns clockwise. Then we have a hollow circle, which is a release anything that is holding. And then has a counterclockwise turn, which brings it back. And then it will repeat it 6 times. That's the way the game works. And then we have arm number 2. Again, step by step, we can pick up whatever it's holding, rotate twice counterclockwise, see that it has 2 individual rotations, and then a drop, and then 2 clockwise rotations to get back. So I must make something that rotates 3 times. So I will do a pickup function. I will rotate 3 times, I guess clockwise, and then drop. And then I will need to rotate 3 times, I guess clockwise or counterclockwise to continue. And we will see that it picks it up, rotates, drops, and repeats. First step is finished. For the next lesson, we will be working with the pivot instruction. First, it wants me to place an arm below, and then add an instruction to pick up the reagent and move it to the product output. So again, we have arm 1 as an example. Arm 1 will pick up the reagent. It will rotate once counterclockwise. As you can see, as it rotates, the bonded product moves. So now there's a little pivot instruction, which has a clockwise arrow, but it's more of a circle rather than a little lever. So it rotates that just once, then the drop function, and then the arm moves clockwise to return to where it came from. So using that information, how can I program arm number 2? Well, of course, I'll start with a pickup instruction and then move counterclockwise. It will bring my stabilized fire to be positioned and in this hex and this hex. So I will need to rotate it once clockwise to get it into the product. And the reason I know it is clockwise is just because I've played the game before and I am able to see that. If you're not able to see that, I think it just kind of comes with a little trial and error in practice. But as you can see, it brings it over, pivots it, and that's good. Another lesson learned. Next, we are learning about piston arms. These arms can extend and retract in order to pick up reagents and move it to outputs. So there are again 2 example piston arms. Let's take a look at arm 1. Arm 1 will pick up its product. It will rotate counterclockwise once, and then it will extend with an outward arrow. And then of course drop, inward arrow to return, and then clockwise rotation to go back to the start. An example 2 is understandable. It's just the same thing, but it requires more steps. It's a more complicated maneuver. So how can I get arm number 3 to work for me? Well, of course, I'll start by picking up whatever is under it. I'll rotate counterclockwise twice, and that should bring my arm to be right here. So I will just need to bring it inwards once. And then I may drop. Oh, and actually, the game is giving me the reset instruction. So I totally glossed over. There's this whole reset. Basically, it's one instruction that drops whatever it's holding and returns the arm to where it came from. It takes multiple times to do, but it only requires one instruction. It saves time when programming, but you can think of it as the group of the instructions if you like, but I think it's easier actually to think of it as a reset. Yeah, I definitely think it is. Another lesson learned. Next, we will learn about tracks. First, I must create a track between the reagent and the product, and then place an arm on the track and add instructions to make it pick up the reagent and move to the product output. Now you can see on the track there are two edges, the minus side and the plus side. Moving along the track is simple. We can see in arm number 1, it picks up the product, goes plus 4 times. That is to say, it moves along the track in the plus direction 4 times. And then it will drop and repeat. Now, arm 2 actually does show a totally separate example of how when it moves towards plus, it goes the long way around, because the plus is considered to be the end of the track, even though it loops. It will go the long way. If we wanted arm number 2 to actually go the opposite way, we would actually have minuses instead of pluses, and I could just... Oh, will it let me show? It won't. So for arm 3, of course, I have to start by picking up the reagent, moving along the track in the plus direction twice. I will need to rotate clockwise twice, and then drop and return, which should look something like this. Very nice. I use tracks a lot, so this is something that is just very important to get. Moves along the track. For the next lesson, we will learn about transmutation. It wants us to use a glyph of calcification to turn the reagent a fire atom into the product a salt atom and move it to the product output. The glyph of calcification, what it does, anything that passes over it, I guess actually the 4 cardinal elements, once it passes over, it gets turned into salt, which will match the output. And we can see this in example of the arm number 1. It picks up the element, rotates counterclockwise, and it turns into salt, and then rotates counterclockwise again, and drops and repeats. So, using my piston arm, how can I get this to calcify and succeed? Well, I will start by grabbing it, and then pull it inward, and then rotate clockwise once, and drop and repeat. And that is all that will be necessary. It does not need to be dropped on the calcification, it only needs to pass over it. An important lesson. This is a lesson about bonding atoms together. The game wants me to use 2 atoms and the glyph of bonding to bond the 2 salt atoms together and move them to the product output. Now we can look at the example of arms 1 and 2 because they both pick up a salt atom. They move to the bonding, and arm 2 lets go. This is important, and arm 1 continues rotating it. If arm 2 was still grabbing the salt, it would not move because it would be pulled in 2 different directions. But arm 1 was able to bring it over to its goal and rinse and repeat. Knowing that, I can do something similar here, where arm 4 will pick up the salt, rotate clockwise once, drop and repeat at the same time. Arm 3 will pick up the salt, rotate counterclockwise once, rotate counterclockwise with the bonded output, and then it will be positioned here and here, so I will need to pivot it clockwise once, then drop and repeat. Looking something like this. And this is the final part of the tutorial. They just want me to make stabilized water. It is a summation of everything we have learned so far. Using 2 inputs of elemental water, I must create stabilized water. So I will start with my own pieces of water down about here. I'll set up a glyph of bonding for them to join. Then I'll position the product here just for ease of transportation. Of course, I needed a glyph of calcification, 2 arms, and a little bit of code. First arm is simple, picks up the element, rotates it counterclockwise, and then drops and repeats. Second arm will pick up the element, rotate it clockwise to calcify, clockwise again to get into the bonding, and then clockwise a 3rd time to get to be where it will be dropped off. And we can see this step by step. Works out pretty well. Second arm's doing most of the heavy lifting, but that's alright. And with that, I've completed the tutorial. Hopefully that leaves you with a better understanding of Opus Magnum, and I wish you luck with this great game. Also, go check out the other videos I have on it now. If you didn't understand it, they might be more easily viewed with this knowledge you now have. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a wonderful day and peace.